A very warm welcome. Today we have with us Mr. Mayank Goyal, who is the founder and CEO of moneyHOP. A very warm welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us to Exo TV.
Thank you, Urmi. I'm glad to be here.
It's our pleasure. Before we actually deep dive into the conversation, especially in terms of the new banking, Fintech, and how the entire banking industry is getting digitized. So we would actually like to get an overview of how you started with moneyHOP and your vision, especially in context to this Indian first cross-border new bank, where we have this culture of a new age banks without having a physical location. If you can share some insight on that.
Absolutely love to do that. So, Urmi, I come from a city of Dehradun up north, did my engineering from Bangalore, subsequently went to London to do my master's in financial engineering, worked in several multinational banks such as Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and Jefferies. And in 2020, I returned back to Bangalore to start moneyHOP. At moneyHOP, we're trying to build India's first cross-border neobank with the understanding to create an infrastructure which enables Indian businesses and individuals to send money across the globe in a paperless, presenceless, and cashless manner. We aspire to become a ubiquitous player when it comes to cross-border money movement into and out of India in the subsequent years. As in when India gains prominence on the global stage, both money movement into India and out of India will need to be digitized and will need to become more economical. And we are aiming to be able to solve exactly that problem for Indian businesses and individuals.
Right. I think that's way more economical as well as convenient, especially people migrate to internationally often. And one more thing, with moneyHOP, how exactly it is setting apart the traditional banks and other fintech platforms. What exactly sets apart?
Yeah. See, typically what tends to happen with most of the fintech organizations is that there is an element of usage of technology to be able to provide a better user experience and economies of scale to the end consumer. So similarly with moneyHOP, in a traditional setup, for you to send money abroad, you'll have to visit a branch and sign a bunch of paperwork, haggle for every 5-10 paisa. And depending upon how ill-informed the consumer is, you will end up paying anywhere between 4 to 6%. We, on the other side, tend to use technology as much as possible without having a lot of high street branches to be able to provide a much more sophisticated and a better user experience to the end consumer, and also use technology not just for a better user experience, but also to be compliant with the laws of the land, and both in spirit and in ink. So right from the KYCs, which we do on behalf of our customers and the partners that we work with, through to providing real-time rates and making sure the user is able to perform the transaction while it's sitting in the comfort of their home, and the entire the journey of the money movement can be tracked. So we pride ourselves in being one of the first digital players in the Indian fintech ecosystem to provide outbound money movement in a paperless, presenceless, cashless manner in a much more economical scale, to begin with for Indian students, and then subsequently expanding to MSMEs in India.
So as we were actually discussing about the technological innovations that are actually happening across the fintech and financial industries. So how exactly does moneyHOP leverage these technological innovations to actually offer a seamless and differentiated banking experience for its customers, and especially when it comes to cross-border financial services?
Sure. So, by the very construct of the fact that we are a fintech organization, technology comes at the forefront of what we're trying to build. We obviously appreciate the fact that we work in a very controlled and regulated environment, and hence abiding by the laws of the land and making sure that the compliance are through and through, right from KYC and all the other LRS checks and so on and so forth. We try to use the technology both from the perspective of the open stack that the government has developed, such as Aadhaar APIs and then PAN APIs to NSDL, or making sure that the KYC docs can be checked, passport, driving license, and so on and so forth. But other than that, I think the world has evolved as kind of at least the startup world has evolved as a Lego game, whereby you, in order to build something, you don't have to necessarily build everything from scratch. You can consume a lot of APIs from subject matter experts in the respective fields and bring it together to construct a product. And that's exactly what we have done. We've consumed a bunch of APIs from the open stack, but also from the private players in order to provide the best user experience to our consumers. One other thing which is worth mentioning is the fact that we haven't just innovated on the user experience. We've also tried to make sure that we use technology to kind of enable the money movement right from when the customer lands on our platform through to when the last mile delivery happens to the recipient of the money, by putting it back to back through an API stack. And in this process, it ends up providing a better user experience, but also the efficiency of the operations is higher. The ability for us to do fraud checks and anti-money laundering checks and counter-terrorism financing checks, all of that becomes automated and much more sophisticated than what a naked eye can detect. So this way, there's a win-win for both. We are able to comply by the law, we are able to detect more frauds, but at the same time, the user also is able to use a better platform with a good user experience at a much more economical rate.
Absolutely. I think before we actually dive into the discussion of security and especially with money, there is this technological platform or the thing of one card, one Google account or one card, which which you have came up with. So if you can share some more insight into how it's actually has gone with this entire process.
No, sure. So, our idea is that money is essentially is becoming more and more digital. The usage of physical currency is decreasing, even more so with the advent of UPI and the penetration of UPI in Indian markets. We feel as and when other bits and pieces come into play on the blockchain network and CBDCs, I think money is only going to become more digital. And with that backdrop in mind, with that narrative in mind, we wanted to build a product which is user friendly, whereby the user doesn't have to think about what a card is he going to use at depending upon where is he traveling to. And what I mean by that is, when you travel from Bangalore to Delhi, you don't think about which card or which application to use. Why should it be any different if you're traveling from Mumbai to New York to London and back to Bangalore? So with that in mind, the idea of one card, one global account is to provide a platform where the user is able to have a digital application, a mobile application, where he's able to see all the currencies that he holds, which is INR, GBP, pound, euro, and the same card to be able to dispense that money at a place of his choice. And that's kind of the concept that we've come up with, which is what we're calling one card and one global account.
That's a very great initiative. It actually provides convenience, especially to the end users, in the same way that you have mentioned while they're dealing with the domestic banking sector. So moving further, when we actually talk about the financial institutions, there is a security concern and also the regulations are attached. So how does moneyHOP ensure that the user data and financial informations are kept secure and compliant with the industry regulations?
No, that's a very good question. And see, listen, the fintech ecosystem or the financial ecosystem in any country is only as strong as its weakest link, right? There are constant algorithms being written, and the bad actors in the economy, worldwide rather, are kind of looking to penetrate into the system through some of the weak public infrastructure or the codes that might have been written. Cybersecurity is one of the biggest threats to the financial services industry, and hence we use a lot of external help and a lot of internal folks as well to make sure that the data that we have in the systems we have built are as secure as possible. We use 256-bit encryption for both data at rest and data in transit. We work a lot with what in India we call certain empaneled VAPT compliant providers, which help us in making sure that all the APIs that we've written are secure. They do penetration testing to see if any bad actor can get through to our system. They identify any flaws that might exist in the system, and we kind of go back and fix that again, get it rerun to make sure that the ship is as watertight as possible. And we try to do this every quarter, every half year, to kind of make sure that every new integration that is happening is relatively speaking foolproof from any of these cybersecurity attacks. So that's kind of the initiative that we take to make sure that we are on the right side. We are able to protect the environment and the data and the customers that we work with.
Since we've created the current scenario, security remains a primary concern. Also at the same time, when we are talking about the entire culture of neobank, the entire digitization, what are the key advantages that neobank brings to the customers as well as the businesses, and how do you think that these advantages align with the evolving customer experience or as well the expectations?
I think the world has become that digitized that this is not a USP per se. It is almost becoming a necessity for any business to be able to, please the customers. The customer is becoming ever so more demanding in terms of the finesse that they need in the product, the digital products. Any physical element, we've started calculating the number of clicks that the user needs to undergo to perform a certain function. Because see, bear in mind that the India's average age is 29-year-old, right? These are the digital native population who from day one have been using mobile phones, using tablets, laptops have become the norm. We're consuming 11 gigabytes of data per phone per month, 800 million smartphones being used in India. India is one of the countries with the cheapest mobile data in the world. And all of this is facilitating the digitization of the entire ecosystem. We live with a population who's tweaking it everywhere, Ubering it everywhere, and they believe in the three fundamental factors, which is instant gratification, convenience, and transparency, right? And the loyalty is very fluid at this instance, right? Whoever is giving a cheaper rate, a better user experience, the digital native population is kind of jumping there. So I would say that it's extremely important to have the pulse of what the consumer wants, constantly being in touch with the consumers to understand how your product is faring in their mind. We see so many advertisements on all our social media platforms, offline, online platforms. So it's very important for us to have a piece of your mind space, and for us to do that, we need to be very focused. We need to have a great user experience. We need to be pricing our products right, so that every time you think of that service, your company's name pops into the user's mind, right? And that's exactly what we're trying to do by creating a digital platform and using data as much as possible to customize the products for the usage of the population that we service.
It was rightly mentioned, and I can't agree more for the amount of digitization India has seen in the past few months, and rather few years to be mentioned, and especially from the times of COVID and the expansions and the amount of UPI transactions that are happening. So it's all because of the digitization and the good amount of internet facilities available. So also when we are actually talking about the financial institutions and how do you say exactly collaboration with these traditional financial institutions is actually becoming increasingly common in the fintech sector? So, can you discuss any partnership or collaboration that moneyHOP has undertaken to enhance its services?
Absolutely. I think, India is, or rather the world has come a long way. Earlier, fintechs and the banks or the traditional financial service providers were seen as competitors. And, it was essentially, fintechs eating somebody else's lunch. But that's kind of not the case anymore. I think every partner in the ecosystem, both the banks and the fintech players, kind of bring something else to the table. We are probably a little bit more agile. We are a little bit more technology friendly vis-a-vis what the banks are, but at the same time, the banks bring a lot of experience to the table, a lot of compliance, having the regulatory aspect. So it's only natural that the two sides kind of come together and provide consumers the safety and the compliance of the bank and the agility and the user friendliness that a fintech can offer, right? And both the parties have kind of understood this, and we're seeing more and more and more collaboration in this ecosystem. We obviously work a lot with a lot of financial institutions, a lot of banks, regulated entities to make sure that we provide the service that we tend to offer in the cross-border space using our technology and the licensing effort and the KYC efforts of the partner bank. So that this collaborations are here to stay. They will need to happen, and at a much more increasingly rapid pace and much more deeper, I have to say, going forward.
And yeah, absolutely, I right. That actually is benefiting both the industries rather. So when we talk about MoneyHub's global and India's footprint and its business achievements over the last 12 to 18 months, if we can talk a little bit about that.
No,
And
absolutely.
if you can also give an overview into the critical factors that you have encountered, especially which are crucial for MoneyHub's success in such a dynamic as well as the competitive market that we have.
No, sure. I mean, see, we are the product of COVID. We started our business, bang in the middle of COVID in March 2022. So, and we are in cross-border space. So, of course, a difficult time for us to kind of have started this business, but we have come out really strong out of this pandemic, and we feel that what UPI, what demonetization did to UPI, kind of COVID did to cross-border banking services. People were earlier apprehensive of sending this large sum of money through our online partner. They wanted to visit a branch physically, but that notion has changed. People have understood that, how UPI penetrated in the domestic market. Fintech companies providing cross-border solutions are going to penetrate and provide that user experience and economies of scale digitally as well. So that's really kind of worked out well for us. And one thing is very clear to us. We feel that it is not just technology that you can use to solve a cross-border problem. You will need to be on the other side of the fence. You will have to be a part of the system by getting yourself regulated. And a combination of being regulated and then using technology is a lethal combination to be solving this problem fundamentally from first principle basis. And with that in mind, I think we've seen a tremendous amount of growth. We've seen over 10x growth in the last 12 to 18 months. We are focusing on education remittances and Indian students traveling abroad for studies. But subsequently, over the course of the next 12 to 18 months, we are going to expand it to other geographies, Southeast Asian markets, which also has similar problems where a large number of students can travel abroad for studies and face a high margin. We are also looking at expanding our services to MSMEs who do import and export of business, and providing them a digital platform to be able to receive the money or send the money for the services or the products that they sell or buy from external buyers. So that's how we've kind of evolved, and these are the trajectories we're looking to focus on in the next subsequent years to come.
That's, I think, wonderful. So, it's coming further when you're talking about it. How do you actually look ahead in terms of what trends and advancement we foresee in this new banking sector, and how does moneyHOP plan to stay at the forefront of these developments while actually continuing to meet the financial needs of its customers?
No, sure. I think there's a lot of exciting things that are happening in this space. Look, the government is kind of pulling the right strings. They're focusing on the right strategies, be it the open stack for digitization of financial services. UPI obviously is a great example of the penetration that we've seen for digital payments. UPI going international is going to be key for us to kind of watch out for. CBDCs is another key example that we're kind of seeing happening in India, and I think other central banks are also very closely monitoring it. ONDC again is a brilliant example of how the marketplaces could be created for Indians to be exploring not just other services but also financial services. So I think these are some of the and lastly, I think the usage of blockchain as a technology platform to provide much more efficient network is also another thing that we will have to see. We haven't seen a lot of I have to say usage of blockchain. In practical sense, we will see that evolution quite soon, I feel. So these are some of the things we feel are going to be instrumental in shaping how the financial services industry looks globally, not just in India, over the course of the next 5 years. And we'll certainly be watching out and seeing how we can leverage these critical factors in moneyHOP's growth.
All right. I think all in all, moneyHOP is doing a wonderful job in actually creating a seamless cross-border payments platform globally. And we wish a lot of luck to moneyHOP. And thank you, sir, for joining at State City and sharing such insightful knowledge with our audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Umi. I really appreciate you having us here, and good luck with everything. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.